What's up, guys? Today I wanted to tell you the story about the worst year of my life. And it still gives me the shivers when I think about it. The year was 2015. My band, Big Leg Emma, and we were on the road working hard, and things just came to a standstill and we had to break up. So first my band broke up. Then my girlfriend and we broke up too. And then I moved out of our apartment in Erie, Pennsylvania, back to my parents' house in Mayville, New York, and I moved into the basement. And then I almost filed for bankruptcy because I was a poor, hardworking touring musician who had nothing to show for it after 22 years of giving everything I had to the music industry. Then I turned 40 years old after a couple months of living in the basement. But now that this was 10 years ago, I can look back on that year and realize it was my rock bottom and the time when I discovered so many beautiful things about life, and I was able to rebuild my life over again. And surprisingly enough, in that year, I got perspective from all of this failure. That's probably being a little rough on my exploits in the music business. I recorded a lot of high quality music and wrote a lot of good songs and did over 2,000 shows, and my 20s and 30s were amazing. I had so much fun. It was like a wild, adventurous ride that has suddenly come to an end. And so now that it was 10 years ago, I just wanted to do a little bit of reflecting on it. In 2015, before I moved out of my apartment in Erie, I recorded this acoustic album in the basement of that album called Folk Dudes. And it's an acoustic covers album, and it's got my version of Here Comes the Sun, which is super popular and on Spotify. It has over 500,000 streams. And it has a lot of viral videos that go with it. Maybe you've seen me playing in front of the barn, my mom's barn. Well, I recorded this acoustic album, and it's got a Paul Simon song, Slip Sliding Away, a James Taylor song, Sweet Baby James, an acoustic version of Men at Work's Land Down Under, a Tom Waits song called Had Me a Girl, a 10,000 Maniacs song called Dust Bowl. What else? A Richard Thompson song, Waltzing's for Dreamers. What else has it got? Willie Nelson cover, On the Road Again, and maybe a few of others that I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's just me with an acoustic guitar singing covers, going through the worst year of my life. And that was in Erie. 6 months later, when I lived in my parents' basement, I recorded another album, acoustic album, called Nobody at Home, which has acoustic versions of Break the Cycle, Comfort Me, Changes on My Mind. So within 6 months, I recorded 2 acoustic albums, which are some of my most popular and most liked albums and songs amongst all of my fans online. And I was going through the worst year of my life. So it's like music at that time was a salvation for me. Like, it was my way of dealing what I was going through. And we all say that, music has this type of healing property to it. But then I had no choice. It was, I need to escape from these circumstances. I'm just going to keep recording and keep writing and keep making content And that's what I did. It was my coping mechanism. So now when I look back on that year, 10 years later, with all those things that I described that went wrong, my band breaking up, my girlfriend and I almost filing for bankruptcy, turning 40, all these are kind of big things. Now, did I have cancer or a serious illness? No, of course that would be worse. But still, it's a lot of trauma one month after another. So when I look at that year, I go, man, that was tough. Not to mention, 5 years earlier, I got divorced. So, yeah, my 30s were a wild decade. Um, but now, these songs are holding up. And on Spotify, all of that acoustic material that I recorded is now being found by new listeners all the time. And I'm being known as the guy with an acoustic guitar and vocals, keeping it super simple, very folky. And I have to say, I'm getting some level of satisfaction knowing that something fruitful came from those really hard times. Now, once I moved out of my parents' basement, I moved to Jamestown, where I live now, and I've now lived here for 10 years, which is the longest I've lived anywhere since I was a kid in my childhood home up until the age of 10. So, and I live here with my dog Maggie, who you may have seen in videos throughout the years. And in the last 10 years, I've built a client service advertising company where I help other musicians and anyone in the music industry accomplish their goals with ads. I don't run that anymore. I mean, I have a few clients, but I don't. It's not growing like it used to, and I don't want it to. And then I created my playlist curator side gig, which I have on Submit Hub here, and I recorded a full-blown EP that was produced, which had the songs I Go to Work and Late Train Jack. And so I've done a lot of fun things here in my house. So much content. On YouTube now I have over 800 videos. It's insane. So yeah, there's so much that I've been working on. But still, after all this past 10 years, my most popular recordings as a singer-songwriter were between the years of 2010 and 2015, I would say. Wow, when I was in my prime. And I say that with a grain of salt because I know a new prime could happen here next week. Like, you never know what's going to happen in your musical life. And over on that music stand over there, I've got 28 new acoustic songs, which I plan to record sometime this winter or this spring. So my new prime could be around the corner any minute now. But if you're watching this, you've probably heard the material that I recorded between 2010 and 2015. Going from High Love, which had Burn Away, Light in My Life, and that was a fully produced album which I did in Asheville, North Carolina with Danny Kadar at Echo Mountain Recording Studios. That took me a year and a half to make, by the way. So I started that in 2008, but it was released in 2010. Then I released More True Than Real, which was another one. And, those two albums were super intense. It was a fully produced studio adventure, which took me a lot of time and a lot of investment and a lot of money. So when I went into these other two acoustic records, which I recorded in 2015, Folk Dudes and Nobody at Home, I wanted basic. I didn't want to spend any money. I wanted to just replicate the songs which I had been doing in my live acoustic show for the past 15 years. So all that material on Folk Dudes, I had been playing for a long time. I had just never recorded it. And it gave me a unique perspective into that material. Like, they were all songs that I wanted to do that I loved. I love all those cover songs. And I thought doing them alone on the acoustic guitar would be a fun experiment and gives the audience something unique. And I feel like it accomplished that. And then Nobody at Home was, again, an acoustic album of my original stuff. So Break the Cycle, Where the Wild Things Grow is also on there, Running Naked Days. But yeah, it was the acoustic and vocals intimacy guy. I was always thinking about intimacy. But that worst year of my life in 2015 has somehow turned out to be one of the best years of my life because I was able to grow from all of that pain. And I think that's why I'm making this video. For you, if you just happen to be in one of the worst years of your life, just know all that pain and suffering is going to help you grow into a new person, and you're going to thrive in different ways that you can't see right now because you're so stuck in that survival status. Just one day at a time, my friend. So that was 2015, the worst year of my life. And the best year of my life. See you later. Bye. Hey, subscribe to my channel.